entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings, BMW Championship, early research, early picks, and preview to get you set up for the course and where you want to make your picks this week. This is the last week of full-blown golf content on the Pat Mayo Experience. I guess until the Ryder Cup, because we're going to blow that one out, because that's going to be a lot of fun. We've been talking about it for 3 months, so we might as well do some super shows on it when the Ryder Cup ends up coming around. But there's no research show next week. There's no DraftKings show next week for the Tour Championship, because frankly, tournament kind of sucks from a DraftKings perspective. Jeff and I will still have our regular show on Monday for the Tour Championship. That'll be it. We'll be in full-fledged football mode as of right now. If you're listening to the audio podcast of this, we'll have the football news and notes from week 1 of the preseason on the back end of this. So, enjoy that coming through. But I want to remind you to smash the like to the episode, sub to Mayo Media Network, sub to the newsletter, join fantasynational.com/Mayo for 20% off. And the week 1 DraftKings Listeners League for NFL is now open. That link is down in the description right now. There is no more Listeners League for golf, maybe Ryder Cup once again, but for golf tournaments this year, that's out the window. We're past the point of no return on that. So thank you all for playing this year. I hope you always enjoy the rake-free contests that come around. We'll be back in January with a fresh set of rake-free PME Listeners Leagues for golf. Hopefully you had a good year. Hopefully Tommy Fleetwood can come through on the final day in Memphis. That would be really nice. Don't expect that to happen because it's Tommy fucking Fleetwood, but here we are. Don't want to spend too much time on that. The top 50 players remaining in the FedEx Cup standings are going to advance to Olympia Fields North Course. There's no cut at this tournament, so yeah, you're just going to have to pick the guys that finish at the top of the leaderboard, and boom, you're going to be on your way because there's not going to be a ton of birdies. I don't have a flyover this week, but what I do have, thanks to our friends at thefriedegg.com, everyone should be subscribed to their newsletter, their website, everything like that, but they have what we see here as the hole by hole, and you can get a sense for Olympia Fields. It's 7,366 yards as a par 70, bent grass with POA in it, or you call it POA Overtures or whatever the hell it is. It is, it's a pretty fantastic course. I loved this course last time around. There's 8 holes with water in play, and you get a sense of why this course is going to play so hard, and it did play so hard. Jon Rahm won at 4 under in a playoff over Dustin Johnson in 2020 when it was held here. I don't think any of us expected it to play U.S. Open style, which it did. The birdies are made at the beginning if you're going to make birdies at all. 3 of the first 4 holes are some of the easiest on the course, and it opens, obviously, with this par 5, 626 yards. Like, you get the sense of why this course is going to play so tough. We'll see what the rough thickness is going to be. Last time, it was basically impossible. But you see, bunkers everywhere, 91 of them on the course, and the trees. They're just everywhere. The rough is so thick. It's not a lot of double bogeys that are happening, but I believe that when we look at the scorecard from 2020, I think there's 7 holes that have an average bogey rate over 20%, which is kind of nuts to think about. And the second easiest hole was a 171-yard par 3. And then the second par 5 was the third easiest hole on the course. Number 1 is where you're going to make your eagles if you're going to make them. But you can just see, it's all in front of you. And the fairways are immaculate, and the fairway percentage, green and regulation percentage is way down here, and you did need a lot of driving distance to go with accuracy in order to do it well. And all the write-ups on the holes are on thefriedegg.com, but you have to look at this nonsense. Imagine you playing this. This would be outrageous. Just walking through just the outlook of some of these holes and the positioning of the bunkers. There's a lot of elevation changes at this course, and if you don't make your birdies early, you're kind of screwed for the round unless you get exceptionally lucky. When we take a look at the strokes gained from 2020, you'll see it's just a lot of ball striking, driving, irons, driving especially, and then you have your outliers who chipped in a bunch or made all their putts. That's not really predictive going forward when we're taking a look at it. But yeah, it's a fantastic course. I would be far more interested in the FedEx Cup playoffs if they played at more courses like Olympia Fields that are going to give guys a real test. Like maybe, in week 1, Memphis is a great spot. I like TPC Southwind a lot. And it can be a very generous course. It's a course where you can blow up. So it's kind of, a boom or bust type feel. This is just going to be a hard test. I wish Eastlake was a little bit harder, but having the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs for the BMW Championship be at a course that is extremely difficult, I really like. I think that's a nice touch to it. I just did in full disclosure, at the end of the month, we're going to play like our own personal Ryder Cup. I know a lot of friend groups go and do this, but we're at a severe disadvantage this year as we lost by far the best guy in the tournament who was on our team, and we got replaced him with now who is the worst guy in the tournament, which is never fun. Paternity leave. His wife kind of said, if you go on this trip, we're getting divorced because I might be having a baby while you're gone. So he can't come. And Cuss drafted our team, so it's not great this time around. And I was trying to look at the courses, and we're playing, one of them is Crowbush. If you look it up, it's in Prince Edward Island. It's one of the better courses in Canada. But it just reminded me looking at this, like there's just bunkers everywhere. And it's like, oh my God. I don't know like how we can go through with this, but just looking at Olympia Fields, like there's just bunkers everywhere that are going to screw you if you get in them. Although the sand is probably better than being in some of this rough that's around. Just look at the thickness of this stuff. It's so thick, you can't pull it off. Oh boy. Yeah, number 14. Beautiful course though. I'm very excited for them to play it. So here's this par 5, the second one. You can see Tiger Woods. He has no problem with it, but it's just demanding the way that they describe it coming through. 16, just a very long downhill par 3. It can play a little bit on the easier side, potentially, depending on where the tees are at. But hopefully this gives you a pretty good sense of what's going on at Olympia Fields this time. And we'll start taking a look through the scorecard. There's the closing hole. Just you got to be able to hit your draw off the tee. I can't, so that wouldn't be very good for me. But I'm excited. I was not excited for week 1 of the playoffs. I'm very excited for round 2 of the playoffs to get a chance at this course. I love watching guys in a real test. I think when we're trying to look at the type of players that we want to be looking at US Open players, weirdly enough. So let's make the jump over to fantasynational.com. It's probably not weirdly enough that US Open players played well here in 2020 because it's kind of a US Open style setup. Taking a look at the scorecard, you take a look at the par 3s. 4 of them, the average distance is 205 yards. Number 8 is incredibly tough, 254 yards this time around. And let me readjust the screen here a little bit. It's a bit blown up, isn't it? Bleep, bleep. There we go. fantasynational.com/Mayo. You'll be good to go. It carries the highest bogey rate on the course, 32%. And being a 250-yard par 3, it's not going to be easy for a lot of the field. And that's what I mentioned about the bogey percentage. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that carry a bogey rate over 23%. There's 2 of them, 18 and number 8 over 30%. And then there's just a whole bunch of other ones, 19%, 18%, 18%, 18%, 60%. I said number 1, easiest hole on the course. Number 2 is the 4th easiest hole on the course. Number 4 is the 5th easiest hole on the course, 4th easiest hole on the course. And they have birdie percentages sometimes you see par 5s that are, 55% with a 4% eagle rate. Now, like the easy one here is 31% birdie rate. The bogey rate is still almost 10%. The doubler rate is over 1%. So it's not like it's an easy par 5, but that is where you're going to make your birdies if you are going to make them. Number 4, very difficult. So you try not to give one back. And that's what you're looking for to kind of compile your round. You can get out 1, 2 under through the first 4 holes. And then you just kind of strap yourself in and hopefully nothing goes wrong. There's 12 par 4s on the course. 443 yards is the average distance of them. And some of the longer ones, pretty tough. You have the 2 shorties, 11 and 12. They're not easy, but they're also not incredibly difficult at the same time. And then you get into some of the longer ones. It's funny that a 413-yard par 4 is the 3rd hardest hole on the course. That's never great. Just not a lot of birdie opportunities because of the green complex that is there. Then you get these longer ones, and they're all just tough, especially at the very back end. 463, number 3, the 4th hardest hole on the course. Number 9 is the 6th hardest hole on the course. And number 18, always a good course will kind of show this a lot of the times that we like to watch. The 18th hole is a 500-yard par 4. It is the hardest hole on the course. You get some swings coming back down. The par 5's average distance is 616 yards. 2 of the 3 easiest hole on the course. Birdie rate north of 26% on each of them, and it holds a bogey or worse rate of 18% or lower. That's always nice. Although number 15, you can pile up some bad numbers on 15 if things go awry just a little bit. A 1.1 eagle percentage on number 5, or on number 1, sorry. Like if you're going to make an eagle, it's going to be there. But frankly, there's not probably going to be the case. You're going to make a whole lot of eagles at this course. Again, with a winning score of -4 at a par 70, putting will become less of a factor. So some of those great ball striker bad putters, unless they, listen, Scottie Scheffler can putt himself out of any tournament. We've seen that in terms of winning the tournament. But that's something that you can look at a little bit harder this week. This seems like a really good Vic course, to be perfectly honest with you, just from the outset looking at it. And we can say that for almost any course, but something that you're going to have to get the ball up and down, but we've seen him be better at major championship venues, even at something like Bay Hill in the years where they grow the rough up. He's been pretty good greenside. I mean, I know the year the Scottie Scheffler won, he left one just in front of him. That cost him the tournament. But if he can linger around, he has improved in that area. If you're not scoring on par 5s, you're absolutely screwed. You take a look at the top 5 finishers, driving and approach were very even. That's not something you see very often. You need to have a full tee to green game here. It can lapse a little bit around the green, and these stats are all drawn from 2020. So Hideki came in 3rd, I believe, 3rd or 4th. We take a look at the strokes gained, you'll see it, but I believe he gained 6 strokes around the green. So he is really contributing to why this number is so high. We scale back a little bit and take a look at the top 10 finishers. I guess it was still up there as well. Putting's going to matter, but 0.6 per round is not quite as high as you would see at a lot of courses amongst the top 10 or even the top 5, where it's going to be like 1 point something. It's pretty around. You can see Rahm, when he won, just to kind of see his stats, he did putt really well for the week, but obviously the ball striking was in tune. He actually gained more driving than he did on approach, or about equal. So that's not something that you see all that often. Ball striking more important than short game amongst the top 5 finishers, dominating the par 5s. That goes without saying. And then you see the whole composition. But here's the big one. Driving accuracy, only 48% at Olympia Fields. Green regulation, 58%. Scrambling percentage, 55%. So way lower than your baseline PGA Tour average. The rounds, the highest distribution, the plurality of rounds were 72, so 2 over par. 72, 73. 73 was higher than 71. Then you had your 69s, nice, and 70s. Then after that, the biggest distribution was 74 and then 75. So expect a lot of rounds over par. You can bomb the ball at this course, but if you end up in the rough, you're going to be screwed. So keep that in mind. As we're going forward, we'll go back to the main page at Fantasy National right now and take a look. I mean, we have I believe we have everyone who's in the St. Jude right now. We only have the top 50 in for the moment, but obviously that's going to change in terms of the projections and everything going forward, because guys on Sunday are going to make a move. Some are going to drop back. I suppose we could take a look at the updated FedEx Cup standings. Not that, it really matters all that much. You're going to know by the time you make your bets and make your picks and everything that's happening on that front. So let's see who's just lingering around at the, I'll continue without supporting PGAtour.com. No worries. Thanks for running my videos. Let's see. Yeah, Mac Hughes is just on the outside looking in. Jagger, Smalley, Dietrich, Taylor Montgomery. No chance for him. Beautiful bow. Like Hideki's got to play himself in. He needs to have himself a Sunday to get there. There's a couple guys. These guys are basically all out of it. And then on the periphery, you got Cam Young, Harris English, Hollywood Hoagie, Cam Davis, and Nick Hardy. Davis needs to hold on to what he's been doing this week in Memphis in order to make it. Essentially, Hoagie, Davis, and Hardy are all kind of at risk. Then you see Jagger needs to continue moving up. He's already gained a lot. But then you have Dietrich, Smalley, and Hughes need to kind of rally back up the board a little bit to gain that just little bit of FedEx Cup boost, and boom, they can be in it. as well. And Eric Cole looks like he's going to be pretty safe. Poston's played himself up, so they're all pretty good. Hadwin, I suppose, could shoot like 76 and go completely the other way, just based on the amount that he's gained so far this week in terms of positioning. But I would estimate that he's probably pretty safe in that regard. Again, only 50 players in the field, no cut. So let's get to the modeling for what's going to happen this week well, we'll see if it happens this week. I believe I have my one saved. Let's see. BMW Championship. OF. I mean, maybe that's not Olympia Fields. Maybe that's OnlyFans. I mean, they're showing a lot of bush. We took a look at it's a throwback. It's a very old course. Maybe the OF is just, they're going vintage on us here. Don't hit it into the bush. That'd be bad. Off the tee and approach, 20 and 30% equal. You know what? I'm going to dial that back a little bit. I'll make them 27 and, no, I don't want to do that. We'll go 25 and 25. No, 25 and 25. We'll make those two even. Proximity 175 to 200 at 10%. Around the green 5%. Putting 5%. Par 4s 450 to 500 yards 10%. Proximity range of 200 plus 5%. 150 to 175 is 5%. I put in driving distance at 10% as well. Although, as we'll see, accuracy does mean a lot. It's going to be very difficult when we see it without any driving distance attached, especially when we look at the historic leaderboard at this course. So let's rig that up, see what we got over the past 50 rounds, and you will see it's probably Scotty Scheffler. Oh, big shocker there. The top 3 players in the world, 1, 2, 3 over the past 50 rounds. Scheffler, Rory, and Rahm. It's just Rahm's around the green and 450 to 500 scoring that's holding him back, although his putting is inside the top 10 over that range, whereas Rory and Scheffler are both just around 40 in the field. It's shocking. You can see how well Scheffler putted earlier on in the year versus what he's done lately when we scale back that far, that he's not dead last in the field, which you would think that he would be. Hovland, Schauffele, Cantlay, Hatton, Windy C, Tony Finau, Morikawa. That's your top 10. Then you're looking at Fowler, Tommy, Connors. Connors struck the ball immaculately at this course in 2020 and just couldn't chip and couldn't putt. Not a big shocker from Corey Connors that he can't chip and can't putt, but he's been getting better in those areas. Day and Glover are up there as well. That's over the past 50. So let's shrink the size down to past 24 and check that out. Because listen, when we're down to 50 players and all the best players are playing, there's only so much I can really tell you about like who's good. Yeah, the good players are good. Thanks. Who can we find at the back end? Like Glover, yes, we know. He won in Wyndham. He's currently leading in Memphis as we go through this. So he's just going to be popular either way, although he's probably going to see a spike in terms of his ownership. Ben An is a little bit different. Ben An in this tournament, I believe he finished top 15 in 2020. He's been playing some good golf, very good around the green. This we know. The putting's always going to be a disaster, but if you can get away with it, Ben An is someone that we could potentially go to if people are just kind of off of him a little bit, although when they start looking at the numbers, I doubt that's going to be the case. 5th off the tee, 2nd in driving distance, top 10 around the green. That's a pretty good formula if you want to be good at this course. But no other big names. Lee Hodges and Shank jump in a little bit. This could be a pretty decent Tom Kim course because of his long iron play. Set up a lot like Morikawa in a weird way where they're very good with their long irons. They're very accurate off the tee, but lack the sort of distance that you truly want at this course. But hopefully it can make up for it. Griot is another one to look at in the circumstance. The driving distance won't be there, but the accuracy will. Very good with his long irons and starting to putt like a champion. Good for you, Emiliano Griot. Nick Hardy is someone we've seen him play well at one U.S. Open, and I don't believe he played well at the other this season. I don't even know what he finished in Boston, but he was playing well through like the first few days. Let's see. That's not even close. I should probably look at the keyboard when I type this stuff in. Yeah, U.S. Open, top 20, 27th. So Nick Hardy is going to be on the card for me. Just jot that one down when you're looking at players at the very bottom of the field. I just like what his track record is at the U.S. Open. I think that he can handle some of these more difficult courses a little bit better. So that was past 24 rounds. Let's shrink it down to the past 12 rounds and see if we got anything else on the go here. And we'll take a look at the scorecard and strokes gained and stats from 2020 as well, because I think that's probably the most pertinent thing that we can do. Glover jumps inside the top 3 when we shrink it down to past 12. It's still kind of shocking he's not number 1 coming into it. Scheffler, Rory, Glover, Hovland, Ricky are the top 5, and this is before any rounds have updated at TPC Southwind. That will happen on Sunday evening, so the numbers will shift once that happens, when you start looking at these different ranges. Rahm is still number 6. Cantlay, Morikawa, Hatton, Tommy. Then Xander, Spieth, Svensson is up there a little bit higher. I don't know if he's going to end up. Yeah, he has a win. He should end up qualifying for the BMW Championship. Where the hell is Svensson at? Svensson, yeah, he's 40th. He's fine. He's safe. He's flying to Chicago, so I wouldn't worry about him. Rose, Connors, Poston. We'll take a look at Connors for a second. Tom Kim, Ben An is inside the top 25. Straka, Nick Hardy are up there. This theoretically should be a really good Keegan Bradley course. I have no idea how he did in 2020. There's a chance that he didn't even qualify in 2020, which is weird, but you never know with Keegan Bradley. Let's see. Yeah, 2020, he didn't qualify for this event. So interesting. He has won a BMW championship. Like, the BMW championship is essentially the Patrick Cantlay Open. I believe he's won each of the past 2 years. Yeah, he won last year at minus 14, won the year before at minus 27, when I believe he went on to win the FedEx Cup. Let's see. BMW, yeah, 2020. 8.1 strokes tee to green for Corey Connors. Yeah, he lost 8 strokes putting. So he actually was pretty decent around the greens and just couldn't make a putt to save his life. Again, that's pretty extreme, and after gaining a bunch of strokes earlier on in the year on the greens, he's reverted back, but the ball striking has been very good. I actually don't know what he's up to this week. Over in, I can take a look at it. Let's see. DraftKings St. Jude in tournament stats. Let's take a look at who is playing well this week. We'll go in reverse Connors, go into totals overall. He's putting okay, chipping okay. Like, nothing great from Corey Connors this week, but pretty good across the board. So maybe this is a better course setup for him. So we got Hardy and Connors, Ann and Griot. And then, listen, I'm not going to try to sell you on Rory over Rahm or Scheffler over both or Vic or anything like that. Like, at the top of the board, that's going to be what you should be really kind of focusing on and trying to come up with your own picks for that kind of thing, mainly because it's going to be very hard to distinguish. You're going to have to get lucky on that. Hopefully, we can find players at the bottom that you can kind of concentrate on, pile those guys up, and maybe scattershot at the top of the board if you're playing a lot of lineups. You see Griot just very good everywhere except for off the tee, which is kind of surprising. But at Southwind, you see Hovland's also losing strokes off the tee. It just means water. At a course like this. It's like when you look at PGA National and you see some of these numbers light up. Imagine if Glover putts in round 4. Good Lord. 9.7 strokes tee to green. That's over 3 better than Taylor Moore, who's in second place, which is kind of crazy. I worry about Tommy because it's all putting. It's not all putting. He's doing pretty well ball striking. Chipping is, he's lost one, whatever, but gaining 6 strokes putting, that's by far the most of anyone inside the, I guess Poston's next, and he's in 16th. So Hadwin is the next closest inside the top 50, and he's just below 4. So, Tommy needs to continue the hot putter. It's possible, but I would like to see those ball striking numbers go back to usual Tommy ball striking numbers, and then we can be pretty good to go. Great driving from Homa this week. Chipping and putting, the approach is about neutral. Going forward, you see Tom Kim, the driving's been bad, but everything else has been really good. So Tom Kim, we could potentially give a look to. Hadwin is all irons and mainly putting this week to be in T12. Don't love him going forward next week. Who's been the worst putter? I assume it's Scotty because, no, it's Finau. Finau, Straka, Norman, Denny. Wow! Denny, minus 4.3. Did not see that one coming. These are the guys that, this is through 3 rounds. These guys need to rally. Hatton's ball, Hatton will be a nice flop leg, I think. I bet on him to win this week. He's not winning this week, but the putting and chipping has been absolutely atrocious. But as you can see, the ball striking actually hasn't been all that bad. Ditto with Chris Kirk. Chris Kirk, the ball striking has been very good. The putting has been abject failure for him. Scotty's irons actually haven't been all that good. It's been all driving for him this week. But either way, you always kind of want to rely on the players who are historically good putters You can see, like, Denny's gaining on approach, but that's it to go along with his poor putting. At least Hatton and Kirk are driving the ball well, hitting their approaches really well, but just can't chip or putt. That I'm less concerned about going forward, because I usually do rely on those guys to chip and to putt, because that's what their baseline is usually going to do. Sungjae and Rory can't get it going on the greens at all. So if we just take a look at overall ball striking, which we weighted the most in our modeling, Rory, Glover, more beautiful. Bo, Hostler. Is Hostler getting in? He was right on the periphery, wasn't he? He's just outside right now. So what does he need to make up? Hostler would have to make up. He's currently T16. If he gets himself inside the top 10, maybe he has a chance to get there. We'll see, though. I don't even know if I love him next week or not, but he'd be an interesting name at the very bottom of that pile that we could look at. Hodges, yeah, I mean, if Hodges could chip, he would be fine. He's in T32 and lost almost 5 strokes around the green. That ain't good, Lee. Is he really? I mean, I would love to tell you I could rattle off all Lee Hodges' stats just off the top of my head, but that's probably not going to be the case. He's usually pretty good around the greens, at least since he's kind of turned his season around. He's played well in some elevated events. I mean, Scottish was basically elevated, played well there. Memorial was elevated, played well there, came inside the top 15. Okay, so maybe Lee Hodges is another name to throw in with Hardy and Connors and Ann and Griot. And maybe Bo Hostler, if he can kind of get it going. Finau might be the driving okay, iron's good. Man, dude, what happened to Tony's putting? It's funny when you see him in the wins and he gains all those strokes putting. And he had been gaining strokes coming in. But he's back down in this territory that he had from Mexico when he won, gaining 5, and then just started dropping a lot. He's losing 1.3 per tournament over his past 5, and he's gained in his past 2 weighted events, at least. So not great there, Tony. What else do we got cooking here? What is Cam Davis doing well? A bit of everything really well. Take a look at Cam Davis. This should be a spot where he is okay. Did he play in? No, he didn't qualify for the 2020 BMW. But he's played well in elevated events, Pete Dye courses. We're back on Bentgrass. That's usually kind of his jam. He's riding some good form coming in. I would expect him to be popular because of that, but that doesn't really make that big of a difference this week. With only 50 players in the field, you're going to need, even if they're chalky, you're going to need guys that are doing well. It's about finding guys that are potentially lower owned, or at least at the bottom, and getting the top right. So maybe Cam Davis is another one. So there's some decent ones that we can look through and try to find, but that's where I would be kind of fine. Man, Rahm's putting in the BMW Championship has been absolutely immaculate over the past 6 years. We'll take a look at the 2020 leaderboard before we get out of here to try to, listen, I mean, guys who play on Live, good runs here with Dustin and Neiman and Kokrak and Munoz. They're all kind of up there. Good. Mac Hughes isn't going to make it, but good for him. There's Benny Ann. He came in 12th at this tournament. So accuracy can play a lot, as we see. But you have Rahm, DJ, Hideki, Finau inside the top 5, along with Neiman. As I mentioned before, Hideki was mainly chipping, 6.1 strokes gained chipping that week. Pretty good off the tee, and then just a pretty mediocre average approach and putting. Rahm just did it across the board. Dustin was amazing off the tee. He was amazing on approach. He could putt, but I guess his lack of short game really got to him in the end. And then you see some other sort of outliers here, like Finau did a bit of everything, but did putt a ton. Brennan Todd gained almost 7 strokes putting. That's going to help you when the winning score is -4 and you need to be around even. That's why he ended up coming T8. Mac Hughes, a lot of chipping, a lot of putting from him. Ditto with Patrick Cantlay, a lot of chipping, a lot of putting. Brian Harmon was all putting that week. So when you see that sort of outlier, you can take those names out. At least that's how I would try to judge it. Be like, okay, can we bank on this guy gaining 6 strokes putting? I mean, no, we can't bank on anyone ever getting that many strokes putting. So if they're not doing the other things well, then we kind of have to throw them out a little bit. Tee to green, Neiman, Hideki, Dustin, Connors, Munoz. Those are your tee to green leaders. And Connors, you can see, came 33rd because he lost 8 strokes putting. Rahm, Ben An, Kokrak. These are all big hitters. Even at the time, I think that Hideki, when we take a look at the distance versus accuracy, we'll take a look at driving distance for the week. It was Bryson. He was awful. Champ, he was awful. Other than that, you got Rory, Dustin, Finau, Rahm, 1, 2, 5, and 12 on the leaderboard. Casey was 16th. Berger, Daniel Berger, good for him. And Justin Thomas, and then Hideki. So T25, third. Neiman was in the top 20% of driving distance, so he was third. So was Kokrak, he was sixth. Cantlay was up there as well. If we kind of do reverse order on driving distance and take a look at it, you just see the guys at the bottom of the field, except for Fitzpatrick. He came in sixth. Hatton, he came in 16th. Both those guys have increased their driving distance since that time. So that's, I think, somewhat notable to look at in terms of fairways. Just hitting fairways didn't do you a ton until you get down. You don't want to be bad and missing the fairways, obviously, but just being around, top 50% of the field is probably good enough in terms of accuracy, unless you're having a really good week out of the rough and in terms of scrambling. So let's go back to strokes gained for a second, try to see some outliers on the green. Minus 10.7. Jesus, Leishman. Now, I guess it wasn't good to every single live guy. Todd, Harman, Finau, CH3, Bryson, Rahm, Answer, Cantlay, DJ, Mac Hughes, Paul Casey. Good for him. And now we're in like the Dustin gained 3 for Hughes, 3 for Casey. I'll try to find this middle ground here to see who is okay, and maybe that they can improve. I mean, Hideki might not even qualify. Thomas didn't qualify. Noren didn't qualify. Just a bunch of guys who didn't qualify. Xander could be setting up to be pretty good here. Nice to see. Morikawa lost off the tee that week. Didn't have a great week at all. Still came T20, but did gain on the greens. And I think that's what we're seeing from Morikawa a little bit recently as well. Yeah, the putter actually hasn't been that big of a problem. He should be more competitive in these tournaments. I don't know exactly what's going on with him. Let's take a look at Morikawa. He's losing slightly on the greens this week, but the tee to green, per usual, very, very good. This is what we're looking for. Can't wait to lose more money on Colin Morikawa this week. It's what I do every week. It's a lot of fun. I still have a while before I'm at the, where I'm down money lifetime on Morikawa. It's going to take like another 10 years of betting him, but it'd be nice to hit one every now and then. I think I just want to see it before the Ryder Cup. I know he's on the team. I don't think that he's in any danger, but it'd be nice to see something coming in. Scheffler was bad on the greens anyway. Tiger was bad on the greens that week. Homa was bad on the greens that week. We'll try to see if anyone kind of stands out. Scheffler tee to green was fine, or at least ball striking was fine. That's per usual for him. Who else we have? Hatton was great tee to green, actually. 4.6 strokes tee to green, lost on the greens. Ditto with Ben An, gained 5.4. So Ben An is really setting up to be a very good play here. Hoagie was just terrible in this tournament. Rory lost a bit on the green. So that's kind of it for what we're looking at the BMW Championship. I hope that was helpful. It's a bit different because we don't know the field. It's a shrunken field. There's only so many different permutations that we can make for lineups and picks this week, but I hope I was able to identify some of the guys at the lower end that you can target to be a part of your core and then try to get lucky up at the top. I'm still trying to get lucky with Tommy. It's been like 10 years to try to get lucky with Tommy, but maybe this is the time. Homa's probably going to end up winning, and I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, Max should have played Max Homa. That would have made more sense. Either way, thank you all for watching. This is the final research show for 2023. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad all of you really like this research show. It's coming back for sure in the new year to get everyone ready, and you can always go back and watch the ones from years previous in case I fall off the face of the earth or something like that. They're all on the Mayo Media Network in the archives, so you can sub to Mayo Media Network and the audio podcast to get that all done. Smash the like on the way out, and I will see you next time.
Fan Mayo Experience! Experience!